Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I'm gonna walk you through what is the easiest path to start out with landscape photography. Have you ever wondered what you need to start capturing breathtaking shots when traveling? No matter if you're just starting out with photography or you already know the basics, this video is gonna help you optimize your journey towards taking on this amazing hobby. Starting something new could be quite intimidating, and the photography industry doesn't make that any easier. The amount of jargon you have to deal with could be on its own a reason to quit before you even start. Although that's true, I have some very good news for you. First of all, you already got what you need to start landscape photography. I indeed bet you have a capable smartphone right now in your pocket, and you can download the best app to retouch your photos completely for free. And if you don't believe a smartphone can take good photos, let me quickly change your mind. But you're right, there are definitely better tools than a smartphone to take photos. But since those tools can be very expensive, you gotta be careful not to splurge your money on things you might regret further down the road. So instead of recommending to buy any particular camera, I'd rather tell you what to look for when you want to buy one. Only by knowing what you need and want, you can take an informed decision and spend your money wisely. There is no such thing as the perfect camera or brand that I can recommend, because the camera you buy has to fit your specific needs. Your needs might be different from mine, exactly like your budget could be different from someone else's watching this video. So first thing you should be aware of is that luckily landscape photography doesn't require crazy expensive gear. If a smartphone is good enough, then any cheap camera can do it too. So let's talk about what is absolutely necessary at the very beginning. Well, we need a camera and a lens to start with. And if you feel like you have already outgrown your smartphone and you want to step up and get something a little bit better, there is no need to break the bank here. Landscape photography, among all the genre of photography, is probably the cheapest. Why is that, you might ask? Well, one thing that can be very expensive is to buy lenses. Good lenses can be even more expensive than your camera. And one of the things that makes a lens expensive is the maximum aperture. The bigger the aperture, the more light can pass through it, and that has a cost. A lens like the 85mm f1.2 can cost you over $2,500. Yeah, you heard me right. But since in landscape photography we can make use of tripods, we don't need our lenses to be that fast or to have fixed aperture for all the focal lengths, another key aspect that makes a lens expensive. On the contrary, we usually shoot with aperture that range from f8 to f16 because we want to have the majority of the scene completely in focus. My second advice is to go for zooms rather than prime lenses. To reduce the weight you have to carry around, and they are just much more versatile when it comes to choose your composition. The range I would cover at the very beginning goes from 18 to 50mm. And sometimes that's gonna be too short, but that's the beauty of having a camera with interchangeable lenses. You can always expand your gear and cover longer focal lengths in the future. In landscape photography, despite what you might believe, we often use lenses that go from 100 all the way to 400mm. But don't worry about it now, 18 to 50mm is going to be plenty enough to experiment with some serious landscape photography. Second fundamental thing we need is a camera. What are the specs and features of a camera for landscape photography? Well, once again, luckily there is no much that you need from a camera. If it can shoot, you are basically good to go. I mean, megapixels are important, sure, but they're not the deal breaker. Any mirrorless camera on the market these days has more than enough megapixels. The cheapest mirrorless camera from Canon has indeed more megapixels than my professional R6. So you can't really go wrong there. We don't need crazy good high ISO performance either. Once again, we can compensate the lack of light with a tripod. Basically, any camera you can think of has those minimum requirements. So when it comes to choose your own camera, you kinda have to think about what else you would need in your camera in case landscape photography is not your only passion. Perhaps video capabilities would be of interest to you, or perhaps you also like to shoot wildlife. Then you have a lot more requirements and things you should be looking for. So, as you should have understood by now, there is no way I can recommend you a camera. But I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway, because I know that people will ask for it. So, my recommendation for those people who are starting out and have a budget of roughly $600 to get the R100 with the kit lens. That I believe is a 18 to 45mm. I know it's a little shorter than 50mm, but it's gonna be enough. We really just need a camera that does what it's meant to do. Especially at the very beginning, Practice is much more important than having the best gear. And I just want to clarify that I'm recommending Canon cameras only because that's what I shoot with, but any entry-level camera from any brand would do the trick. I'm not sponsored by Canon and I have no interest in recommending any of the stuff that I'm mentioning in this video. With this combination, you will be perfectly fine for your first 10,000 shots. After you have achieved this goal, you can think about buying something new or upgrading your gear. Since this video is targeted to people who are just starting out, I'm not gonna suggest more expensive gear, but I'll leave in the description few more options if you have a bigger budget and you want a bit more right from the get-go. So now we have a camera and a lens. The other thing that we need is a tripod that is tall and short enough, light, compact and as sturdy as it can be. Let's go over these characteristics and see why they are important. But before we jump into that, if you are enjoying this video, may I ask you to like, comment and subscribe. 85% of the people that regularly watch my videos are not subscribers. It will help a lot if you can hit that button. Now let's go back to our video. So, tall enough means that a tripod should be comfortable to use for your height. If it's too short, you're going to be all crunched up and not be able to spend enough time composing your photos. Your tripod fully extended should be approximately at the height of your chin, or even better if it's above. Another thing to look for when it comes to height is how low it can go. In landscape photography, often we want to get very close to the ground to enhance foreground details. Having a tripod that allows that is preferable. A minimum height that ranges from 0 to 40 centimeters, that is the equivalent of, I believe, 15 inches, is going to be good enough. Portability. It is likely that to take your pictures, you will have to travel a little bit. As the old saying goes, if the landscape won't go to the photographer, then the photographer must come to the landscape. So it's important that the tripod doesn't take too much space in your luggage or in your backpack. Landscape photographers are constantly on the go and sometimes we also have to walk quite a bit to reach our destination. So not having our gear holding us back, it's an advantage. The weight of a tripod is also a crucial characteristic, and you need to be a bit careful here. The lighter it gets, the less sturdy it becomes. So it's important to find the right balance to avoid that the first wind gust blows away your camera and crashes it on the ground together with your brains. I would say a good range to stay in is 1.2 to 2.5 kilograms. Mine, I believe, is around 1.3. Sturdiness in a tripod is influenced by two main factors. Weight, as we just talked about, and how many sections compose the legs of your tripod. 4 sections legs are generally sturdier than 5 section legs due to the fact that the last section gets thinner and thinner to be able to fold down. But of course, the more sections, the shorter the tripod will be when collapsed. And because of that, travel tripods usually have 5 sections to occupy less real estate. Again, the key here is compromise. Now, let's discuss a little bit about things that are irrelevant and that you can freely choose according to your preferences. How quickly we can deploy our tripod. With landscape photography, we usually have the luxury to have plenty of time to arrange our gear and take the photo. So there is no real difference between a screw or clamp mechanism when it comes to deploy your tripod. That's indeed the best part of landscape photography, spending time in nature meanwhile you are preparing yourself to shoot. Don't be a stressed photographer, be a chill one, it's much better. Which head we use? Literally any head can be used for our purposes. As long as it can hold the combination of your camera with your heaviest lens, we are good to go. The most commonly used are ball heads, but feel free to choose whatever you like the most. I personally use the Peak Design carbon tripod, but it is one of the more expensive. There are definitely cheaper alternatives out there, like this K&F tripod. I should mention here that I don't own this tripod, but a friend of mine has it and I believe it is an excellent choice for the money it costs. Some people think that with the tripod you should go for a buy once, cry once approach, and although it's true that if your tripod is cheap but too heavy, too bulky and not sturdy enough, you will never use it, I think nowadays there are definitely valid choices that will not cost you an arm and a leg. That's it. That's all you need to start out with landscape photography. So, to quickly recap, if you already have a smartphone, you just need a tripod, go ahead, invest this $100 to get it, plus an adapter to be able to hold your smartphone and you're good to go. Or if you are already committed to this hobby, you can go for a mirrorless camera and a lens that fits your budget plus the tripod. Save the rest of the money to buy tickets and arrange travels to locations that inspire you and where you can practice a little bit. And lastly, remember to have fun, to enjoy and respect nature, and hopefully you will come back with a photo you are proud of. I'm planning to make a series of videos to help beginners navigate the intricacies of landscape photography. Make sure to subscribe to tune in. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!